first part. I've got
Okay.
some food stuff that's bike related I'd like to talk about.
Heck yeah.
And I think that'll kind of transition us to the further down the road. Does that work for you?
Man, I'm good with whatever, Kevin.
Okay, well,
you know, I'm easy like Sunday morning.
I understand. You got notes though, so it's like you might have a plan this time, and I'm not used to that.
Well, there's certain aspects of the bear that just I don't know. I just wanted to get into some specifics.
Oh, I definitely have some specifics
Yeah.
I want to get into.
I mean, there was quite a few things, but I went back and I watched the entirety of season 1 in one shot on Monday night, and I had intentions of watching season 2 again before this podcast, but it's a lot.
I understand. So we're about to roll into the intro, but I think we're going to leave this in because we've been teasing the bear episodes for a while, and we are about to go into that. We are definitely going to talk bikes first, then we'll roll into bear episode 1 of that, and some other surprises that we might have in the mix. But
might.
I'm going to go ahead and roll. Okay.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Shiftless. I'm co-host Kevin Lee.
And I'm co-host Brad Green.
And we're joined by lovely Luna.
Luna Bale, sweetheart.
Oh, my gracious. I'm just seeing your knee. What'd you do to that, man?
Oh, last night, Garrett was being a bully on the trail. Actually, it wasn't his fault, but I was in front of him. We were on the west side, and it just went hot into a corner like a goofball. It was one of those slow motion wrecks that you see happening.
You know what's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I just went into a sandy corner, probably not too hot, but weighted improperly. I was not on my front end as much as I should have been, and it just... The worst was my elbow. I think I might have chipped my elbow. It's all swollen.
I hate when that happens.
It's all swollen and tender today. But
I did one of those. Actually, that's... summer of 2011 was not good for me in the bicycle, but I did one of those that summer, and it bothered me for like 3 or 4 years afterwards.
I've done it to this elbow too. I have a divot in my freaking elbow. I did it at PK, and that one hurt way worse. This is minor in the scheme of things, but anyways, it was a great ride last night. Garrett was pushing me the whole time, talking shit. I love that guy. But no, it was good. I just, like I said, it was one of those slow motion falls. Like as soon as I went into the corner and it started, I was like, here we go. And it was just, so no big deal.
No big deal. It's part of the price of admission, right?
Yeah. I tell my wife all the time, if you're not wrecking occasionally, you're not riding hard enough. So
there you go. There you go. Well, let's take care of some housekeeping on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
Montana can be checked off the list now.
Heck yeah. What about Mississippi?
Still there. Mississippi, the Dakotas, and Alaska is what we're down to.
When was Mississippi still there? When did you last check?
Last night.
Oh, shit. Because I reached out to my cousin, and I was like, hey, I need you to listen to my podcast.
It may take a couple days for it to process. I don't know how real time those statistics may or may not be.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, and along those lines, not only did Montana come on, it came on strong. So it kind of it jumped several positions. Usually when somebody new comes on, it's like at the very bottom.
Yeah.
It was almost mid-pack.
Huh. Way to go, Montana.
Thank you, Montana.
What a beautiful state.
We appreciate it tremendously. Let's give this another try. So if folks have thoughts, questions, comments, concerns about Shiftless, what's the best way for them to get in touch with us, Brad?
Shiftlesslive.org@gmail.com?
No.
That's not even right, is it?
No.
I need to tattoo it on my hand.
Best way to get in touch with us. We appreciate ratings and reviews as long as they're 5 stars
Anything less than 5 stars, just pass.
on all of the podcast platforms. Eventually, your comments may get back to us if you're leaving comments there. Probably not, though. We're not able to monitor it. We don't get notifications from the different platforms. So if you have thoughts, reach out to us via email, shiftlesslive, all one word, at gmail.com.
Oh, why did I say .org?
Well, shiftless.org will take you to our podcast page.
Okay.
So we do have a URL, but we don't have a website as of yet. And man, I thought I had something else on the brain I wanted to touch on as far as how,
I'm sure we'll get to it.
I know exactly what it is. So along the lines of comments, I did get several comments from our most recent episode where we did talk about Big Pig Cancer Foundation and Ray Porter Memorial. And we enlightened a few people as to Big Pig Cancer Foundation and what they do and how they help out our local community. So if it's okay with you, Brad, I would like to just make it a regular part of our Shiftless episodes that we just we give a little shout out to Big Pig Cancer Foundation each episode.
That would be amazing. I think historically we've kind of been just doing our thing, plugging away, and doing what we do. The whole purpose was to help out cyclists, but it's awesome that more people are becoming more aware of it, and it's becoming a bigger deal. I mean, we've all known people that are affected, and it just seems like it's an increasing thing.
Well, and that's quite frankly, and I talked about it last episode. For me, that's the huge deal about Big Pig Cancer Foundation. I know the people it's helping.
Yeah.
So that's really, obviously it's tangible, but I think that's different than a lot of, not better, it's just different from a way a lot of those fundraisers do work.
Yeah.
Big Pig Cancer Foundation funds, if you're in the North Texas area, more than likely you know the people that it's helping. I'm sure there's others I don't know that it's helping as well, but so that, and maybe the terminology isn't correct, but I may have kind of taken it for granted that people knew who Big Pig Cancer Foundation was and what it was about. And those comments I got reminded me, it's like, hey, not everybody is up to speed on all that. So big shout out to Big Pig Cancer Foundation. I know they have a Facebook page. I tried to put the link to their website on last week's episode, but it gave me some sort of cybersecurity warning on that. So, but
I'll make sure you have the right link, and we can put it on this page, hopefully, or this episode, hopefully. Don't kick the table. Come on, Kevin. You're the one that warned me about that.
No, I'm the one that said that's going to be noisier.
Yeah. We'll work
but
on
it is working better for you, I think.
I like it. I like it a lot better.
So yeah, Brad's going professional podcaster on us. He's got the telescoping mic boom and all that good stuff.
I just have bad posture and I want to lean back.
Well, another thing I want to bring up and chat about a little bit. This ties back to our last episode as well. I'm assuming you've seen the news on Jay Petervary.
Yes. What was he? 2,000 miles in?
Right around 2,000 miles of what, 3,200 or something like that.
And Caleb just got back from Colorado, and I don't know why he made it a point to let me know that he was in Salida when Petervary got hit. I was like, damn, I wouldn't incriminate myself like that. But he said that Salida, that's where Petervary was hit, right? Was it Salida?
North of Salida, between Hartsville and Salida.
He said, Caleb said that Salida was like the super cycling present. Like,
oh God, yes.
Yeah, he said everybody was like super aware, and
where he was hit is right in our wheelhouse. I mean, it's literally on the road that we have a route for. With everything going on with the dog and the family this year, we had to cancel the reservation, but That was the neighborhood of our rental house that we.
Oh shit! I did not realize that.
I know the exact road where he was hit. And
Do we have any more details? I just heard that he was hit from the rear.
Hit from behind. Broken arm, burst disc, maybe a broken orbital bone or something.
He's already had one surgery, from what I read.
Yeah, broken leg bone too. I mean, obviously it could have been worse, but it damn sure could have been better as well. Yeah, hit from behind is what they said.
Sounds like inattentive driver.
I'm not gonna.
Obviously,
that's the most likely scenario. That's what Occam's razor will tell us, and I'll touch on that a little bit here because I know exactly. Assuming his tracking showed where it ended was where he was hit.
Yeah,
I know exactly where that is. And, but yeah, it could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot better. Hit from behind. They said the person that hit him
stayed behind. Called for help. Which is an admirable thing to do.
But aside from that, evidently Jay doesn't have any details of who was involved or any of that.
Well, and that's the thing. The latest article I read said not only that the person that struck him stayed, called for help, and there was numerous people that stuck around and were taking whatever you want to call it, notes, but none of those people have come forward yet.
Well, but they may not have come forward to him specifically.
Oh, I didn't know if that was from a police standpoint or what.
Well,
I just took it as
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think we know all the. So
that's fair.
I don't want to go out there and blast people for hit and run or anything.
Yeah.
I don't want. I mean, at this point,
I'm just saying what I read.
For all we know, Jay could have done something in the wrong in this scenario. It's not a very likely scenario. Like I said, I know the road. I know the area.
Yeah. Is it gravel or paved?
It's definitely gravel.
Yeah.
It's very not populated.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also open rolling terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, there can be a dogleg in the road or whatever else.
So they could have snuck up on him.
Well, I'm not going to make any assumptions on any of it. The likelihood is they should have been able to see him in a distance, most likely, sort of thing. There's always exceptions to that. He could have gone through a gully or whatever else, or I'm not going to make any assumptions along those lines. Yeah, Occam's razor says the most likely scenario is inattentive driver hitting him from behind. But other stuff could have been.
I'm sure he was running a blinky, though. I mean, you would think.
One would think. Again, we're having to make assumptions at this point.
Either way, I mean,
hopefully we
hearts
get
out to that dude.
Man. No doubt, and that, quite frankly, that's a spot I never would have expected for that to happen. It's that simple. So something we all need to be aware of, even when you think you're just in the most safe environment feasible. You've constant vigil. You always have to be hyper aware.
Head on a swivel.
I'm going to get a little preachy here myself. I'm not going to tell anyone else what to do, but quite frankly, if you got the earbuds cranked or headphones on or that super loud Bluetooth speaker that you can't hear anything.
Love me a good Bluetooth speaker on a bike.
One of the best things about riding gravel is your ears tell you literally for miles if somebody's coming. That really does.
That's why I can't say enough good things about these girls right here.
Bone conducting.
Yes.
Are those aftershocks? Or is that a different? Yeah,
aftershocks.
I have aftershocks.
They're the best, man.
I'm a huge fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan.
I wear mine off the bike as much as I do on the bike because I can do everything I need to do and keep my hands free. And
we are not sponsored by Aftershocks, but if Aftershocks wants to send us some freebies, we'll let them.
They're freaking amazing because I can literally have music on in the background while I'm prepping, cooking. I can have a podcast playing, and I can still have my hands free, and I can still hear which is important in the kitchen too. You need to hear if that sizzle hits the pan. You need to hear when the timer goes off and all that stuff. And then I can still hands-free take a phone call. We living in the future. We are living in the future.
And the reality is aftershocks and that bone conducting stuff, that's almost old technology at this point.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those, it's pretty much the same from when it started for the most part.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think I likely have the lower cost ones. I don't know which model I have. I haven't been able to differentiate the different models. I just don't know what's within my budget and what's not. But the only negative, and I'm doing air quotes again, the only negative I have with my aftershocks is, if you're listening to music and you're into higher fidelity sound.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
You're not going to get full audio range. You're not going to get a bass bump out of it or anything like that.
No, and I don't think you're going to get that without like a over the ear or a high end earbud. But
agreed.
Still,
I'm just letting people know that
yeah,
that's probably the only downside I can think of.
It still delivers really good sound.
Now I've never worn mine for like a 6-hour ride, or I've worn them for like 3 or 4 hours, and they've lasted for me.
Oh, mine'll last for, I want to say 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. And they charge really quick.
They charge really fast.
Yeah.
And it's, and I'm looking, it's like, how do those well, I guess it's just audio, so it doesn't use up a lot of juice.
I mean, you got to think the driver's tiny compared to even like an earbud, I would imagine. But I love them. Thornton was the one that turned me on the first time, and I was like, what? And he put them on, and I was like, holy crap. I mean, it was mind-blowing to me, and I've been a fan ever since. So
yeah. So if you're not just
earbuds are the worst.
Earbuds are the worst. Well,
my main problem with earbuds is walkers and cyclists alike. When you're coming up behind them, I like to announce myself, because the last thing I want to do is come riding by somebody and startle them and make them hurt either themselves or me.
Yep.
And so I'm constantly, like, especially when you're on a path, and you're coming up on somebody, I always call, on your left, coming up on your left, or whatever the area dictates. And inevitably, there's that person that has both earbuds in, oblivious to everything around them, and you come by them and you startle them anyways, even though you're trying
and
to
they get mad at you for it.
Yeah.
That's what gets me about it.
And I try my best not to, in turn, get mad at them, because I'm like, take your earbuds out,
right, right.
And at least focus on, you're out here to be in nature. At least take some of it in,
Yeah.
But the other thing with the earbuds is you want to hear your bike too, because your bike's going to tell you if something's going wrong. So
yeah, just for anyone that maybe isn't familiar, what it's aftershocks, Jawbones, or is
they're just called aftershocks?
Well, that's a brand, so I'm sure there's other brands out there too, or something.
Just look up.
But it's a bone conducting headphone.
Yeah.
Which doesn't go over your ear canal. It doesn't plug into your ear. The strap goes over the top of your ear, and then it kind of presses against basically
your temple.
Below the temple, at the temple, your jawbone joint.
Yeah.
And it it conducts sound through your head by that pressure on your jawbone, the orbital area there. And you have full hearing through your ears for all of everything else that's going on in the background. That is a game changer, and where they can be really handy when you're doing one of Kevin's stupid Spinistry routes that has 1,800 turns every 100 yards or so. If you're rolling the Ride with GPS app, you can just play the audio cues on that. It's not going to chew up your phone because you're not using screen time, and it works just like a car GPS at that point. Turn left in 200 feet, and, et cetera, et cetera.
It's pretty cool. I think we've given Aftershocks enough shout out.
Again, just it's one of those that.
If you haven't checked them out, I highly encourage it.
Yeah, I hope that headphones or earbuds or AirPods or whatever
didn't play a factor.
Didn't play a factor, but I could also see where it could.
Yeah,
quite frankly.
I would struggle to ride 2,000 miles without some music.
Exactly. And that I see that from a lot of ultra endurance riders, that a lot of them are listening to stuff constantly.
I would imagine so.
And
I forgot who it was. I think it was Alexandra talking about AZT listening to podcasts. She listened to, or audiobooks maybe.
I think Lael talked about that too
Yeah.
in the Payson one.
Yeah.
Some. But anyway,
Listen responsibly.
listen responsibly. Seriously, it's a big deal. What else is going on in bike news? Anything you're aware of?
I'm trying to think.
Oh, you had touched on this a little while back, and maybe it just brought it to my attention, and I'm noticing it more. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of issues with electronic shifting, particularly AXS these days, where there seems to be a lot of just derailleur failures where they stop doing what they're supposed to.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
You'd said something about it a little while back, or maybe it was somebody else I was listening to.
I was talking about the new transmission. I was watching, I guess you'd call it a speed review, or they're doing side-by-sides of the old Axis,
Right.
And talking about how quickly it shifts versus the new one. Like the old one could literally go full range and return in the time that it took the transmission to just travel the full cassette. But after watching, was it Burn Peak Express, I think, he talks about how not only can you shift the new transmission under a load, which typically would be a death sentence for a derailleur.
Basically, you're supposed to.
Yeah, you're supposed to. So it's intentional that it's not super fast, which I guess if you're like super racer boy, maybe that's, you need every millisecond, or you think you need every millisecond. But it's become my understanding too that that's even more critical for an e-bike application. So.
And there we go.
There's where the Trojan horse fully shows.
That's the real rub in why this came about. Yes, it's going to be beneficial to the acoustic riders.
Yeah.
But it's built for e-bikes, and I'm actually, I'm still intrigued by the transmission and the UDH setup and everything like that. But I'm becoming more and more convinced that I don't see investing in that. I think I'm going to stay a little more traditional. Because, the reality is,
when the apocalypse comes, how is your electronic transmission going to work?
Lots of potential stuff in the mix there, but ultimately it gets back to single speed's the way to go.
Yeah, well,
it really is.
Great single speed crew last night.
Good,
man. We had a great circle after TNSS. It was probably 25, 28 people. This is good stuff. Trail was in decent shape. We need some rain.
I assume it's a big old sand pit again.
There are definitely some sand. The normal sandy spots are sandy. I know it sounds stupid, but I went down in the sand.
There you go. I think I did too when I had my cracked elbow.
Yeah. But it's awesome to see such a diverse group get along just splendidly. That's one of my favorite. Literally, TNSS is my therapy session. If I didn't go to TNSS and exercise my demons and then sit around and talk smack with my guys, I would feel like something was missing in my life.
Well, something would be missing. So there's no doubt. There's no.
The camaraderie is just second to none. So, but. I hope and pray that everybody listening that is part of a cycling community has some weekly standing ride like that they get as much out of as I do out of TNSS. But I'm sure you guys all have a weekly ride, whether it's Saturday or Sunday or, I mean, I think most shops do a weekly ride and stuff like that.
Tell you what, send us an email, shiftlesslive@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Tell us about your regular crew and what you might do on the regular schedule, and maybe we'll give you all a shout out and point other people your way if you're interested in other people tagging along. I think that it'd be interesting to hear what other regular social gatherings people might be doing, where and how, and what that might look like. Who knows? Might spark some ideas for other people to put stuff together, or even change up things we're doing on a regular basis ourselves.
Yeah. Bolin showed up with pulled pork last night, heated it up over the grill, and we had sliders and, just sitting around drinking beer and talking smack. It's so good.
Very nice. And that's a nice actual transition point for us right there. I want your professional professional
Jeff.
Jeff.
Oh, a little foreshadowing.
Yeah, a little foreshadowing. Well, yeah. Let's
opinion about what? Go for it. I'm sidetracking you.
No, all good. So here's fair warning.
Mm-hmm.
Here's fair warning to those that are listening. We're gonna start changing things up a little bit, throwing some new stuff into the mix as this episode evolves. But this is a key part of it. Obviously, we always talk about food and bikes and pop culture stuff here and there.
And stuff we don't know anything about.
Definitely stuff we don't know shit about. And if you do know shit about stuff we don't know shit about and you want to set us straight, please.
Yeah, reach out.
Please do. We'll talk to you. You're not going to hurt my feelings telling me I'm dumb. I know it. My wife reminds me multiple times a day. But Brad is definitely an expert about food. Chef Brad Green is, that's the label for good reason. I obviously like food myself, consuming it, but I like, I consider it a hobby of mine, but at a very, very low level. But for Spinistry events, we've been cooking along the years, kind of dialed that back some as the crowds got bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to cook for 50 people. It's a different thing to cook for 500.
It does change the dynamic
a bit. But with us going back to, or focusing more on the membership model, and we've talked about it in several episodes, that's going to give us the flexibility to do more of our smaller get-togethers and events and rides and stuff like that. And I'm excited by that because that gives me the opportunity to start bringing food into the mix more.
Yeah.
And I've been missing that, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm in the process of putting together my 2024 menu, things I want to throw into the mix or have ideas about throwing into the mix.
Quit beating around the bush. Let's get to it.
Well, let's get to it, but I want to lay it out in that I've got ideas. I would definitely want your feedback on what I have in mind.
And you mentioned a chamber vacuum. That excites me. That excites me. And it's crazy because somebody asked me just Saturday night, like, do you have a chamber vacuum? And I was like, fuck, I wish. I mean, the entry level is pretty high for those. But,
we're down to 300-ish.
Oh, really? Is that a Innova? A Nova?
No, it's not.
Because they make one. I haven't searched their price lately.
It's a couple of Chinese ones that are down in that price. I haven't done all the research yet, so I'm not committing. Under 500, I think it's realistic.
Yeah.
And
last time I looked at them, like it was $800.
It was $800 to $1,200 for
and I can't
an
justify
entry
it.
level.
Yeah, I can't justify it.
I can justify 300.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, it takes some selling to justify the wife 500.
Yeah, but the versatility on it is a lot better than a traditional food saver style. But
let me just give just the global of where I'm at with this menu and what I'm trying to accomplish basically over the course of the rest of this year.
Hit me. Let's go.
And then, like I said, I'm looking at this being the 2024 menu. These are things that I have an idea that will work into just my normal kitchen stuff, my normal smoking and cooking, but I don't have the recipes dialed in yet. So the idea is to get the menu, high-level menu sorted, and then just start working on the individual recipes, a recipe or two a week sort of
I'm
thing.
here for you.
Okay. So, this one's kind of, this is our staple. Pulled pork sandwiches with South Carolina slaw sauce, or sauced slaw. So basically a Memphis style sandwich, but with Texas pork and Carolina.
That's the way I like it. I got one more thing for you to throw in the mix with that. I think it works really well.
That's why we're talking about it.
So when I do those, when we have a get together, like family get together and stuff, I always do a pulled pork and I do slaw and we do Hawaiian rolls and then I do honey roasted jalapenos for people that want some spice, but it also brings sweetness. And they're super easy to make, and it's one of those wow condiments.
Okay.
But it's literally 2 ingredients. It's honey and jalapenos. And you just honey your jalapenos and roast them until they go soft and let them cool and chop them. You can take the seeds out if you care to, and you can even pre-split them and de-seed them if you want. And you just chop them, and it's just a little condiment, and it's super good. I stole it years ago from Taco Diner, which was part of the M Crowd, part of Mi Casina group and all that. And the first time I had them, I was like, holy crap, how do you make these? And the guy was just like, dude, it's just simple. And I was like, that's stolen, straight stolen. And they're super good. I think it goes great with that.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. And that's part of what that's kind of along the lines of what can I throw into the mix to not necessarily make it a full meal, but complement pieces, sort of thing. So right now I'm staying on pork. So another iteration, I want to do al pastor tacos. I got the skewer thing yesterday. I'm going to try this probably Friday. Yeah. On the smoker. So I want to do smoked al pastor tacos. Try that out. Pork enchiladas. Again, just with the pulled pork. I've got that down fairly well. I just need to work on a large group.
Yeah.
Production.
Well, and execution of that, like, rolling and saucing and holding and serving and, maybe you're better served doing like an enchilada, like almost a Mexican lasagna,
That's exactly what Jan and I threw together about 3 weeks ago, and I was pretty happy with it.
Because when you get to 40 and 50 people, people want
basically an enchilada casserole.
Yeah,
is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think you're probably gonna have less of a headache and more of a self-portioning kind of deal because when it gets down to one person takes 3 enchiladas and you've got 50 people, now you got to make 150 enchiladas, and by the time you get to the last 40, they look like dog slop anyways. So
understood.
Just my immediate thoughts.
Another one I'm thinking about, again, just utilizing the pulled pork and the smoker for that. When I looked into the al pastor tacos and the skewer thing, I can do pork gyros as well. But that one would be brand new to me, so I would have to dial that in from scratch.
It seems counterculture, kind of.
That's what I thought at first, and then I started digging deeper into it, and evidently pork gyros are actually a fairly common thing. That caught me off guard.
I always associate lamb with gyros.
Yes, I'm a lamb beef mix guy myself. So I'll try the pork. But that said, if that doesn't work to my satisfaction, I will also play with the ground lamb, ground beef combo. And basically do it like a meatloaf. See how I'll play with it. So that one's real early in the thought processing stage.
Get you a nice tzatziki sauce and some shaved purple onions. I'm in.
I love me a good gyro.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things. Well, Mediterranean in general. And that's what let's Mediterranean I'm going to need your help with.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the pork. Next week we transition to beef. I want to work on brisket, sausage, what I call cowboy sandwiches. learned to make my own, basically Rudy's sissy sauce.
That's easy. We can go down a barbecue sauce rabbit hole. Yeah.
I understand, but
Yeah.
that profile of the sissy sauce is what I want.
Hey, sidebar. Alabama white sauce has been hitting on my radar really hard. I have zero exposure to it. Yeah. I figured you'd have a strong opinion. That's why.
Well,
I
I'm not a
wanted to ask you.
mayonnaise guy,
Oh,
so
that's true. Are you a Miracle Whip guy?
when I have to do one or the other, I do Miracle Whip.
You know, there's only two kinds of people in this world. There's mayonnaise people and those people that like that shit. It's
Well,
Miracle Whip falls into American singles with me. It's not even like real.
so again, it's a gut thing for me.
Okay.
Mayonnaise kills me.
Huh.
So why, I don't know.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Something about it does not work for me.
I'm a Duke's mayonnaise guy till I die. Duke's.
But
Duke's.
I just don't like the flavor of it as well. But
It's just one of your little intricacies.
oh, I've got so many of those. But anyway, going down the beef road. So brisket and sausage. Use our buddies down the road for the sausage is what I'm thinking about. And there's some varieties there. That makes it easy. Staying with beef, throw brisket tacos in the mix.
Is Syracuse still in Cinnamon Creek Ranch right there?
Not to my
to
I've never had anything to do with them there. I always go to Ponder, or is that Prosper? I can never get my P's straight.
It's okay. I'm gonna leave that alone. But Syracuse, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we go, giving up my secrets. Good
sorry.
grief.
Sorry.
No, it's quite all right. Brisket tacos. That's just really generic right now. Let's do a taco thing. I can do the beef enchiladas too, just like the pork enchiladas. Then transition to chicken. I know this is going to upset you, or I'm assuming it is. But my game plan on this is those $5 Sam's Club chickens are pretty damned awesome and easy to work with. And so basically, I know. I'm just explaining.
It drives me crazy that they can still sell a cooked chicken for $5.
It's a lost leader.
Yeah, I know it is, but
I can go there and I can get my bulk beer and my my other stuff that we'll talk about here momentarily. That's going to drive you batty as well. But
oh no, man! Anytime somebody's putting forth an effort to put out food, I'm pretty okay with it.
But along those lines, I'm thinking a chicken wrap of some sort. Again, leaning towards a Mediterranean. I want to play with some Mediterranean stuff in general, but I don't know what that looks like yet. Chicken tacos, chicken enchiladas. Just basically, I can buy 5 chickens worth, pull it all apart,
Pick them, yeah.
get another 5 gallons of stock out of it or whatever else, and
I don't think you're going to get 5 gallons out of 5 chickens, but whatever.
No. Okay, no, you're right.
Yeah.
I got a gallon. I got a gallon and a quarter out of 2. So
I typically get 3 quarts out of a full chicken. That's my
well, that's pretty
goal.
close.
Yeah.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
But again, the Mediterranean. Ooh, couscous. Ooh, pearled couscous. I need to do
Israeli couscous is the jam.
something. I don't know that.
So it's
what is Israeli couscous?
So couscous in its heart is durum wheat semolina, untouched, unadulterated. Durum or Israeli couscous is, and this brings up an age-old debate with me and my buddy Vanderplug. Couscous, Israeli couscous, is basically a pasta. So it's been reworked, and it looks like airsoft pellets. It's about BB size.
Yeah. I know what you're doing. I didn't realize that was Israeli. I'm a fan.
Yes,
I am a fan.
I like that better, and it holds better, and it serves better, and it's just heartier. than just a.
So is that how it's
couscous.
labeled at the store? Is that how you? It's just,
Israeli couscous. That's the way. That's what I've always called it. That's what.
okay.
I think. I want to say. Yeah. Final answer.
Okay.
Israeli couscous.
I will dig into that.
Yeah. Super good, and you can get it in bulk.
Yeah. Because I was
cheap.
thinking about a pasta salad, but I've had the Israeli couscous cold salad.
Yeah. You could make a Mediterranean couscous salad out of that. That
Yeah,
would just slaughter.
Yes, exactly. That's what we're. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was looking.
You're welcome.
That's
I'm
where
here
we're
for
going.
you.
That's where we're going with that one. So that'll work with the chicken wraps, and that'll work with the gyros, and who knows what else we come up with. I have already our vegetarian-centric quinoa bean veggie medley thing that we do that people are definitely fans of.
And I think I speak for the public when I say we need more black beans from Pearly.
Okay, well, speaking of which, that's what I refer to, and that's next on the list, Lambo Pico. So that is next on the list, as a matter of fact.
Very cool.
So that will be a standard feature,
Yes.
but Kevin's going to have to do it.
Son of a gun.
I
It's not
know.
going to be as good.
It won't be.
It's
It
not gonna
won't
be
be. But my wife is not into chopping that many vegetables.
Yeah. Dude, I can be your chopping bitch. Dude, you would be amazed if you saw how quick I can process.
I would
veg.
not. I would not be amazed. So we may rent you out for that at somewhere along the way. So we're starting to stray into sides now. I want to do my Mexican/Spanish rice with my pico ranch style pinto beans sort of thing, charros basically.
Yeah.
I have a smoked macaroni that I'm really a fan of. It's really good. But it is a higher dollar item, and it is it's a longer cook. So
Yeah.
for doing it for a group, it's worth
It's a
it.
lengthier process,
It is.
period.
It is. It's worth it, but that's never going to be a 200 person event food. But if we're down in that 20-30 range, we could do it for that. Pasta salad, but I think we've decided we're going to make that a couscous salad.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Mediterranean rice as well, but I don't know what that might be. So I would lean on you.
Like a perfumed basmati or something.
Something along those lines. But that's outside my wheelhouse. So I've never done any Mediterranean cooking yet. So I need to start getting into it.
I got you.
I've got a smoked potato and bacon salad that I like the concept of, but I haven't done it yet. So
Potato salad's one of those rabbit holes too. Like everybody has a different. When I say potato salad, you immediately have this concept in your head, and that is different for every person you ever encounter. It's kind of like, when you grew up and mom made spaghetti.
Yep.
It was your favorite because it's what you knew.
It's
and you
what
went
you
to
knew.
somebody else's house and had spaghetti. You're always like, what is this?
So we're back into my mayonnaise discussion. I can't do a mayonnaise based potato salad. If there's a little bit in there, I can make it work. I've always gone mustard centric. But now I'm thinking about more just going.
But it's not all about you, Kevin.
I understand.
Yeah. I served something Saturday night. I forgot. I served a Korean smashed radish salad. And Paula's like, but not everybody likes radishes. And I go, Paul, it's not about you.
Right.
It's just because this isn't your favorite doesn't mean. And I served it, and everybody just cleaned the plate.
Well, what was it when we came here for the dinner? You had that radish dish. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the early ones. Something with radish in the mix. But
was it roasted radish, Brussels, and Cipollini's with the bacon aioli? No.
Oh well. Anyway, I can't remember
when you had bolognese.
Yeah.
I don't remember doing radish.
I think you substituted radish for something else that night, but it was the avocado radish soup. Yes, it was.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay. Yeah.
And
super bueno.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was like over the top radish.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's been so long since I've had anything radish.
Radishes are very underappreciated and overlooked.
I agree. I agree.
But And the crazy thing is there's so many different varieties of radishes. But anyways.
So that's the side realm that I'm thinking about with those other with the meat realm. Mm-hmm. Obviously,
I think you've got all your proteins there. I just, from a big pig perspective, there seems like a lack of bacon in the mix.
Well, the potato salad has bacon in it.
Yeah.
The chicken wrap could very feasibly have bacon in it.
Have you cooked a pork belly like a brisket yet?
No, I have not.
Do that immediately. It's the same concept, low and slow. Cook it to internal, but don't go as high as a brisket. Do like 195, 198.
Okay. That's what I do, pork butt range.
Yeah, and you can season it. The weird thing is if you season it salt and pepper, brisket style, it tastes. It's going to sound really dumb, but I don't know how to articulate it differently. It tastes very beefy. If you do a traditional, and I say traditional, but a Texas-style pork rub, like a 30-30-30 salt, chili, brown sugar, it tastes very pork-centric. So you can really change the game, but it is amazing. Amazing. Okay. And you could in turn cube that, sauce it, return it to the smoker for a beautiful burnt end pork style.
Or just have that just always in the freezer just to throw into something else too.
Dude, it's hard to beat.
Okay.
And it cooks a lot quicker than a brisket, obviously.
So then we kind of go into desserts, and this is what I'm playing with this week. I just want to have a cobbler to work with. Mm-hmm. Berry, apple, peach is kind of what I'm thinking, but I just need to get those dialed in.
Nanner pudding.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. What else is on your desserts? Let's go.
I'm just doing cobblers.
Okay, cobblers.
But you threw that out. It's like maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the breakfast side, I've got what I call my overland oatmeal, which is a staple, and whatever protein I'm working with, we'll just do breakfast tacos. Around that. So that's kind of, those are the things I want to work on through the end of the year to have dialed in for 2024. Definitely going to lean heavily on the Mediterranean stuff on the front end, and.
I got you.
Maybe the nanner pudding. I want to play with that concept.
Yeah, because you can batch that. Quit making all that noise. That's not me, ladies and gentlemen. That's Kevin Lee.
What happened this time? What's going on here? I'm not sure what I did there. So anyway, that's Spinistry food. Anything in that mix that jumps out at you as a bad idea or... Anything? Is there a big hole that I'm missing somewhere that you?
I just think chicken is hard to keep moist in that environment unless you go straight thighs. But if you're gonna do pulled chicken, sauce it, do whatever. That's the only thing. I struggle with chicken because I'm not a huge chicken fan. Because a lot of times when chicken is served to me, it's not that great. But that's just me.
I trust me. I do get that.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking at it more from just more variety than any
fair
thing aspect.
And I like the wrap aspect because then it becomes kind of modular and people can do it however they want. If obviously if you've got your lettuce and veg and stuff there for wraps, then you can totally have vegetarian accommodated and everything else. I like that. So I feel like as a society, a lot of people are shifting, and so you have to be more accommodating. So when you go into like brisket and sausage and stuff, it leaves a lot of people out of the mix. But I think those people also understand that they're not always going to be accommodated.
Right. So. Well, they do, but we do want to find a better job. And that's So that is something I definitely want to be talking to you more about. I do want to expand the vegetarian menu. The quinoa is a winner for us. People are always happy when we have that sort of thing.
Quinoa's just good.
But I would like to throw another staple into the mix.
Yeah.
That's vegetarian centric.
Dude, we can totally nail all that stuff down in 20 minutes. I got you.
No, I understand. I just wanted to see if I was missing anything important
Not that stands out. Not that I can think of.
or overreaching anywhere along the way there or anything like that. So, yeah, so this week I'm working on trying to dial in my berry cobbler and the al pastor tacos and see where that goes from there.
I want to talk to you about cobbler too. We'll talk about that. I've got some tips and hints for you.
Okay.
So,
all right.
let's move on.
Let's. And I think this is a good time to kind of transition on over to what we've been talking about in the background.
Yes.
For a little bit. Are you okay with going that direction?
Absolutely.
So just to let folks know, obviously Brad and I spend a lot of time talking about food during our bicycle podcast.
It's hard not to talk about food.
Oh, I agree. I agree. So we don't have this all sorted out yet, but we have a general direction in mind of, hey, you know what? Let's just go ahead and throw another show into the mix that's food centric. That's about right.
That way we don't detract from the cycling podcast.
I like talking about bikes.
Yes.
I like talking about food.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you our food podcast will have mentions of bikes in it on a very regular basis.
Yeah. But it will be food centric. That way we can get the Rich Waldschmidts of the world off our back, and we can delegate bike talking to, or relegate bike talking to shiftless.
So right now at this point in this podcast, this is still a shiftless podcast, but we're going to start to incorporate our food-centric podcast into it as an introduction to that. And this will probably be in the editing booth. This will probably be where we start episode 1 of that food podcast.
What's our working title?
Well, you came up with one.
Well, I don't know if it's going to stick, but people got to eat.
People gotta eat.
I like it.
People gotta eat, and we've even got some theme music for it.
I like that.
Does that work for you? Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
That's the edit point you wanted,
Yeah,
right?
I like that.
Welcome to People Gotta Eat.
That's it. I want to explain the backstory.
Please
People
do.
Gotta Eat.
Please do.
So, decades ago, I told Paula, I said, if I ever win the lottery, pipe dreams, I want to open like this super high-end, ridiculous, over-the-top restaurant where, there's a salt and pepper steward at your table to salt and pepper your food if you need it, or, and hopefully you wouldn't. And serve stuff like, that's unattainable by the masses just from a financial standpoint, where it's, foie gras and, caviar and all this, but serve it at a very moderate price, like almost take a loss on it, just so people can have that experience. And so I thought it would be awesome to have the contrast of a super high-end restaurant and then call it something like People Gotta Eat. And so when I first started doing catering jobs decades ago, we started a quote-unquote business card business where we called ourselves PGE, People Gotta Eat. And that name has always been just kicking around, and it's never really been applied to anything. And so when you asked me about a food-centric podcast, I was trying to think of something clever, and then Paula and I were having our conversations in the pool as we do. And she goes, "What about people got to eat?" And I go, "Man, I hadn't thought about that in a while." And I just think I think it's fun, but it obviously has a long history of rolling around in my brain. So maybe it doesn't strike as well with everybody else, but I think it's fun and funny. So
I mean, it paints a picture for me.
yeah,
I think it's I think it's to the point, but not hoity.
yeah. Yeah, because I was thinking about something like chewing the fat, or because it's literally going to be us sitting around talking. But then I went and looked, and there's like 10 different podcasts that are some iteration of that exact name, and there's a couple I think that are literally called chewing the fat.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure there are.
And so I was like,
sure
well, I'm late to the game on that.
I did a cursory glance for people got to eat, and nothing jumped out. I think there might have been an old podcast from 10 years ago that hadn't been updated in a while or something, like maybe. The only conflict or crossover, there is some charitable organization out there called People Gotta Eat.
Oh, really?
I haven't dug down into all the details.
They probably stole it from me.
It's not. No, it's I don't think there's major crossover there.
I wanted to kind of hit the gamut. One of the podcasts that I kind of went down a rabbit hole on during COVID was 3 chefs out of South Carolina, and their podcast name was Hot Dogs and Caviar. And unfortunately, they haven't uploaded a podcast in, I don't know, a year probably. But Hot Dogs and Caviar, and that was their whole premise, is they were fine dining chefs, had great accolades, but they still appreciated all the quote-unquote shitty foods as well. I mean, they would talk about gas station roller hot dogs and the merits of ketchup and how it's an underrated condiment, and they talked about pizza and, good pizza, bad pizza, but every pizza still scratches that itch. I mean, it was a fun thing because they definitely talked about super high-end food, like to the point where some of the stuff they would mention, I go, I don't even know what that is, and I'd have to look it up. So I just thought it was fun that they hit the entire gamut, and I would like to do the same thing with our stuff, and also do food reviews and, just talk about
a little bit of traveling in the mix potentially.
Yes,
is what we're thinking, and maybe point folks to some hidden gems here or there, or.
Yeah, I always get conflicted about that because every time I find somewhere, I'm like, man, it's the diners, drive-ins, and dives kind of mentality. Like when you find that little hole in the wall, you want everybody to know about it, but at the same rate, you don't. I
mean, it's.
But I always want the best for people, and I want them to be as big as they want to be. So
yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. I get what you're saying there. Something I do. You actually reminded me of a question Jan and I had last night. We were actually watching some potential recipe ideas for that menu we were just talking about. And I saw a guy doing charro beans, and he threw a hot dog in there with all of his meats.
that makes sense.
I don't have anything against it. It just seemed odd. Why a hot dog specifically? I mean, he had the chorizo, he had bacon, he had fatback, he had there was something else, and then he had one weenie, as he called it. What does the hot dog do in that mix?
It's just, I mean, if you think about it, it's just more variety. It gives your dish more depth. Just if you only had chorizo, it's going to be chorizo, based essentially, and it's going to lean towards chorizo. The more you diversify your flavors, you're just going to have more of a palate. And I wouldn't go with hot dog, but whatever.
I guess I've never considered a hot dog being part of that. And I'm not anti hot dog. I'm not implying that by any. But I've never, outside of
but
beanie
you've had
weenies.
Beanie weenies. Yeah, I was just going there. I don't know. It wouldn't be the first thing I turn to, but I
didn't know if maybe that was a staple I wasn't aware of in charro beans or something like that. Or
there's definitely, I mean, charro beans are one of those things too that's very regional, and then you get into like borracho beans and refried beans, and there's all these different varieties of beans, and then when you go down the charro beans, there's potato salad once
Yeah.
again. I mean, everybody has an idea of charo
yeah.
beans, So
Yeah, I mean, what this guy was putting together was like dialed into exactly the way I like mine, and
Yeah.
it was if I had to come up with my own recipe from scratch, it would have been pretty close to that.
yeah,
to
minus the
begin.
hot dog.
Well, I may throw it in now.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I was like,
So did he chop it? Did he?
Yeah. Basically diced it.
Yeah.
It would almost have been like cubed ham at that point,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Ham too.
Yeah.
Actually, I like the idea of ham better. Never mind.
Yeah.
We can really go down a rabbit hole here. So we've been talking about it for
Too long. The bear.
The bear. So we've been teasing it for, I want to say, a couple months now.
Yeah. And if you haven't watched The Bear, pause this, go watch it, come back, because as we've told you, we are going to spoil it. We're going to connect dots. We're going to talk about nuances.
We're gonna try to, at least the introduction of the bear, explaining what it is to people, try to make that spoiler free, but it's gonna be really hard to do. Spoilers.
No. I'm not going to hold back on spoilers.
No, the first part of it, but yeah, we're definitely going to be going into spoilers on this. But The Bear on Hulu,
Yes, is probably one of the best shows, especially food-based shows. That's not a like documentary reality, ugly, delicious.
This is a TV series drama around a restaurant and the people involved with the restaurant. And this is up there with Breaking Bad, Sopranos, Last of Us, if people were into that one. But I mean, this is high level,
The
super quality TV drama.
dude, it's I can't say enough good things about it. I went back 2 nights ago and watched the first season in one sitting again. And I forgot. It's so good to go back and watch it knowing what's coming, because the very opening scene just kind of sets the tone, not only from the scene where he's on the bridge and there's the cage with the bear in it, and it's this entire dream sequence, and you realize not only is the cinematography insane, the emotion, the music, but it just sets the tone for how chaotic and like how it's going to catch you off guard throughout the series. And it's so well done. I mean, the first episode, if you watch that first episode and you're not just immediately all in, I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I think anybody that has any hospitality or food experience is going to be hooked in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Anybody that has an interest in creating their own food, doing their own cooking, is going to be hooked after the first episode, would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
If you hate food, you're still going to be into this thing, because
so many different levels to it.
If you're into acting and theater, the performances in this show are the best. And I mean, we're talking season 1. There's some people you recognize from other shows and stuff like that. So these are folks with good acting chops, but I don't think anybody was like an A-lister.
But the main character is now on the radar to be an A-lister.
Yeah, what's his
Jeremy
name?
Allen White.
Jeremy Allen White. He was on Shameless.
I think that's his name.
He established a pretty good presence there on Shameless.
I never watched Shameless. It made me feel so dirty.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to watch. I had a buddy that was like super into it and just kept trying to get me to watch it. And I was like, man, it's like a guilty pleasure.
It got tougher.
Yeah.
They had they shifted showrunners at one point and kind of shifted the flavor of the show.
It made dysfunctional look like an upgrade.
Well, but that's
true.
Isn't that a lot of that in this series too?
It's more just straight chaos.
Well,
it's organized chaos.
And I wonder. I'm wondering if the showrunner for this one, the writer, what's his name, Christopher Story or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I wonder if he was involved with Shameless, because there are some similarities in there that I'm just now recognizing. But anyway, going off on a completely different tangent there. In season 1, it was just the core group, including your buddy Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Fock.
And tell us who that is in
Maddie Matheson. He's a big time character in the culinary world. He's one of those guys. He's like a chef's chef, if you will. But he's Canadian, so no offense to Canadians, but he definitely, he's all about the poutine, or however you say it. Poutine. But he's a very boisterous, loud, like excitable guy. And he has a very admittedly checkered past, struggled with, addiction and everything, and has straightened his life up, and is a restaurateur and a consultant on many things, including this project. Has a couple of different YouTube channels and does some great content. Cooks some really. He's more of a down home cooking kind of guy, But just a great character. He's one of those guys you want to sit and have a conversation with.
He is a cooking personality.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I wasn't aware of him until this show.
Yeah.
Brad was the one that enlightened me on him. But if you're old school like me, he's an Alton Brown. He's an Emerald Lagasse type of influence on the pop culture cooking industry right now in the current environment of YouTube and Instagram and everything like that.
He's like came into light at the same time as like Binging with Babish, and I'm trying to think of who else you could. I don't know if anybody else really comes to mind that's on the same kind of level.
Probably not, but the YouTube generation.
Yeah. But he's a colorful character.
He's
tatted up.
Very
he's
much
a large
character.
Gentleman, and he's very jovial. Like I said, he's.
So I'm sure there's a good bit of performance in the stuff he does along those lines.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's based on who he really is.
Oh yeah, he's not playing a character.
Yeah, he's not playing.
He's very subdued in The Bear, believe it or not.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's what got me about it is The Bear is his first acting gig of any kind.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely amazing.
Oh, he's so good.
I just thought he was just one of those character actors that's been around forever that I just hadn't seen him in anything else before.
No, he's a natural in that role.
Man, his acting is top notch.
But we don't even see him until like
third or fourth episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But he came on board as like a consultant for the cooking side of things. Make sure they got they got their stuff accurate, so to speak. But what I guess where we were going, that the first season, it was just this core group, and it's a high quality show. And I saw an interview with Maddie Matheson yesterday or the day before where he was talking about they knew it was good. They liked the writing, they liked the style they were doing. They were having a good time doing it, but they thought it was just going to be this maybe cult classic thing that 2 or 3 years down the road, people, oh, you remember that show, The Bear?
Yeah. I always wonder in real time how much these people understand, like Reservoir Dogs. When they were making Reservoir Dogs, do you think they understood how big time it was going to be?
Right.
And like in this show, is there a point in time, like, are they on like episode 5 and they go, man, we're doing something here? And does that ruin it? Yeah. Especially in an episodic show like that, like, does it change the air of it? That's it's kind of like a chef that realizes he knows what he's doing.
Knows
You
what
know,
he's
I mean,
doing.
it's
And
does
that-
it change things?
And that's one of the things I really want. So, Carmi, Jeremy Allen White's customer, Carmen
Berzotto.
the bear. So basically, the fundamental storyline is he's a world-class chef at the greatest restaurants in the world, literally. Everything from line to sous to head chef.
CDC, Chef de Cuisine.
Chef de cuisine. I didn't know what CDC stood for, so thank you very much. How is that different from a head chef?
Well, in a true brigade system, the chef de cuisine is the acting. I don't know how it breaks down in a military standpoint, but the chef, the head chef, is still the top of the line, but he is in charge of basically like the vision, if you will.
He's the general manager.
Yeah, he doesn't actually. And I'm not saying this is the case in every restaurant, but typically
he's
doesn't
not the
cook.
online worker.
And the chef de cuisine is the one responsible for running the entire kitchen and executing said chef's vision
in real time. For what's going out to the table.
Making all the calls, making tasting everything, making sure that everything's plated perfectly, and he is literally in charge of executing the vision.
So that's the main character, Carmen, there. And that's his basic international experience background. But he comes back to the family Chicago-style Italian beef sandwich that just was a poorly run restaurant.
To say the least. Yeah. And that's basically what you start to understand during season 1 is, Carmi wanted to be there, but his brother, Mikey, would never let him work there. And, well, I don't want to ruin that part, but he returns there almost, we feel like reluctantly, and then he's not very welcomed by Richie, who doesn't want his boat shook, so to speak, because they've always done it this way.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Richie's a cousin.
Yeah. Man, it's so hard to articulate how awesome the show is.
It really is.
Cinematography, food porn,
the writing,
shots,
the performances, the cinematography, the background music, the editing. Oh my God, it's all over the top.
Yeah.
And I'm just setting that up. Is they created such an impression in the industry their first season. They had A-listers running to them just for cameos and bit parts in the second season. And I'm going to throw a spoiler in there, but it really isn't. Jamie Lee Curtis is actor of the 2020s.
Oh my
Between
God.
this show and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I still haven't seen that. We talked about that last night.
Oh my God.
I wanna see
Jamie
that.
Lee Curtis, y'all.
It's on my short list. She puts one of the best performances. When somebody plays a character,
I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it.
when somebody plays a character and you just like despise them and feel sorry for them at the same time, and it's kind of like the guy that plays a villain and it makes you hate him. You're like, he's doing a really good job. I mean, if she doesn't get some kind of accolades for her, albeit short appearance, she was only in 2 episodes in season 2.
She has to be getting an Emmy nomination for Best Supporting.
This show has to win some awards. If not, the system is rigged.
I can't imagine it not winning everything. It's not. I can't think of a single thing. I mean, this along the lines.
I'm just fanning out.
Well, no, but that's what.
Yeah.
So, okay, as a reference, Brad and I started. It was just, well, it might have been during one of these episodes, one of our first episodes. Hey, have you seen The Bear, sort of thing? Or probably, and we just both started just geeking out immediately, going round and round on it. And that was before season 2 came out. We were both huge fans after season 1.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I did not expect to be blown away by season 2 like I was. It's like I was expecting, it was realistically a sophomore slump. It was a realistic possibility, or they may have shot their wad the first season. That's hard to follow up on.
Season 2 outdid season 1, but I don't know how to say this the right way, but season 2 was so good because of season 1.
You couldn't have a season 2 without season 1.
The writing was so good because they went back and filled in all these gaps, these questions that you were kind of like, well, what's going on here? But I watched season 1 the other night and was drinking whiskey and took notes, which I don't really ever do because I didn't want to just sit here and ramble on. But so while you're pouring some water, I just want to tell you like some of my random whiskey inspired notes here.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you we're going to transition directly to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have got to ask one thing before we go there, because spoiler alert, spoilers start now. We haven't really done any spoiling yet, but we're going to get to because here was the biggest thing when we first talked about the bear that caught me a little bit off guard, but I got where you were coming from. Mm-hmm. But I want to see where your position is on this now, and you touched on it a little bit ago. The biggest takeaway when we talked about the bear the first time was you basically said you don't care for that Richie character. And you were talking about it, not that you don't like the guy. Mm-hmm. You didn't like the character in the mix. You thought it wasn't a good fit. Do you still feel that way?
Man, no, not at all. But in that same light, every character, that's one of the other things that makes this show so good. You know, from Carmi to Sydney to even Falk and Honey and Richie and Marcus and Tina. Yeah, I mean,
that arc there.
Every one of those characters gets developed so well, and they do a really fantastic job in the first 2 or 3 episodes of doing a light introduction to each character, and they come into the mix. You just kind of get a little snippet, and then over the course of the first season and even second season for Marcus, I think Marcus really blows up in the second season.
Oh, yeah.
But you kind of get an idea of who they are, and they are able to grow and transition through the series, and each one of them you get more endeared to in a completely different way. It's such a good thing, and that's part of my notes. Like,
let's roll with it.
Yeah.
So what's note number 1 on Brad's list?
So
this is so unusual. I'm excited.
So the opening scene, like I talked about before, dream sequence, and I have written down foreshadow of what to come. Carmen opening the bear cage, cinematography, music, intro. Like when he opens that cage and you just get that, I don't know the song, but it's a very high tempo, like rush song.
Is that
Yes.
one?
Yeah.
It's a Disturbed song, I think.
And it just sets the tone for the chaos that is going to ensue. And so I don't know why I said shorted.
Whiskey.
Redirecting, negotiating, contingency. Like this is. Oh, that's where it was. So he goes to open, and they get shorted on their beef.
On the beef.
That time, and true. This is what spoke to me so hard just from the first scene. If you've ever worked in a professional kitchen, or if you've just even been in that environment, you're always. I used to have a chef that I worked with, Chad Vanderplug, that he said this to me one time, and he just said it in passing, and I don't even know if he understood how impactful it was, but in a high production kitchen, you are always getting screwed. You just have to figure out what direction it's coming from. So as a chef, if you're not contingency oriented, if you can't take the punches and redirect and roll with it, then you're going to go down with the ship. So he got shorted on his beef. Obviously, it's Chicago Beef House. You know, he's dealing with trying to rectify the books that Mikey left so screwed up.
Mikey's his brother.
His brother that committed suicide. That's why Carmi's back in the mix. We failed to mention that earlier. So he comes back to help run the family business. So, but we get in to this point where he's poring over the books. He's trying to get groceries so they can make food, so they can create a profit,
so they can be in business for the day.
But one of the very first scenes is him dealing with this shortage of beef, and so he's like, okay, we can't get it from this purveyor. Let's do what we can do. And he's negotiating. He goes contingency. Then we get introduced into the knife, which plays a big character in this opening scene. And you understand, like, every chef has a knife that is their knife, and it's your workhorse. It's your go-to. And most chefs have multiple knives, but we all have that go-to knife. And so we get introduced to Carmi's knife, and I think it's very fitting that it's a high-end Japanese knife. It shows you kind of the cut of his jib, if you will, because it's not just a stamped blade, white handle, Dexter Russell, line cook knife. It shows his caliber, where he came from, and it's kind of a beautiful contradiction to where he currently
is right now.
But it also shows you his vision. It gives you an idea that he's there to make things, bring it up to another level.
Do you think he was at that point? That was his mindset. Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't take that wasn't my takeaway.
I think it's definitely foreshadowing. I mean, like
it's foreshadowing of the capability, but I don't know if that was a plan.
But if it was any other knife, I mean, if it was just some random generic knife, you would not place as much on it. Anyways, but the Japanese steel makes its appearance. That's what's in my note. Yeah. And then we see vintage. He runs to his apartment, and he's got vintage denim. Like, he lives in a tiny apartment, but he has denim just stashed everywhere. And I think that's also, like, very apropos, if you will, for high-end chefs. Like, when you work in a kitchen environment, you typically work 80, 90 hours a week. These guys don't have a lot of hobbies, a lot of sidebars. It's cooking, sleeping, cooking. I mean, you live, eat, and breathe cooking. But every chef I've ever come across has some strange idiosyncrasy, and his happens to be vintage denim. And you immediately understand how much he's willing to forego this to make this work. He's proving it to himself. He's proving it to his family. He's proving it to his coworkers. So he's, unknowingly to anybody else in this restaurant, he's negotiating with vintage denim to get the beef that they need to make service. And I thought it was huge. I have chills right now, but it was just, I don't know. It made a big impact to me, because he's so ingrained with the street culture. Just think about, not only did he have vintage denim, he knew what it was worth, and he knew how to offload it in order to make that whole transaction go down. It was a very cool scene to me.
To try to maybe equate it to our carryover audience from Shiftless. Mm-hmm. I saw that as taking one of my favorite bikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not even thinking twice about, I got to keep this going.
Yeah.
I know exactly who would be interested in this bike. I know I need $2,000 for this. Mm-hmm. I can message this person right here, and I've got $2,000.
Yeah.
And this is going to hurt.
Yeah.
That bike's important to me.
But it's a sacrifice.
It is.
And I thought it was very fitting. It totally spoke to me, because I've seen that kind of thing happen, and especially in small, struggling restaurant environments, so it was super realistic to me. Granted, the denim aspect was foreign to me, I do know a little bit about denim, but I don't know they were down the rabbit hole hard on that, and I was very impressed. And I just have vintage denim for meat. I don't know that I can't read my own writing. And then I wrote
what whiskey were you drinking that night?
Milam and Green, very small batch bourbon, delicious. But then I wrote Jeff, because this is in the first episode we get introduced to Tina, and I thought it was super funny, and it carries on for quite a while. Where
it went deep with that.
So she calls him Jeff
instead of
Chef, and she puts forth this persona like she doesn't speak English, and it's very that happens in a lot of professional kitchens as well.
That's extremely realistic.
Yeah. And then we get introduced to the pot, and there's the conflict over the pot, because Carmy takes her pot. This is her kitchen in her mind. She's been in this kitchen for 25 years, and there's a lot of similarities, although they don't become apparent in this episode, from the pot to the knife.
Yes.
And so she feels like she's been stolen from, because Carmy takes her pot to cook. I think they're cooking stock at the time, making a veal stock, a glace de viande, I believe. I don't know. But we get the knife. He steals her pot, so she steals his knife. And this becomes a reoccurring thing. Like, he, in the fits of just chaos, has anybody seen my knife? And, it just keeps beckoning how important that knife is. And then I just have beautiful food porn shots, because the cinematography in just the first episode is so dynamic. You have these big, long, theatrical, uncut shots where they're sweeping through the kitchen, a la Godfather, and then you have these really tight shots of chopping and cutting, and highly accurate. And then the music and just the feel of the overall is just immediately, like I said, first season, first episode, you're like, this is going to be amazing.
Anybody that's into film editing, film production, the putting together of a movie or a TV show, if you're into any of that whatsoever, this is such a unique show. It goes back and forth between super long one-take tracking shots to just the most intense millisecond edited montages
and flashbacks,
and we haven't even started on any of that, and
it really appeals to my ADHD brain,
and we're just into the first episode so far.
And then my very last note for season 1, episode 1, I have cans written in all caps with 3 exclamation points, and I don't even think we want to blow that up yet.
We'll just say it's foreshadowing.
Yeah, but that's the first time that you start seeing the San Marzano tomato cans. And then I think it's maybe episode 2 where he asks Abram, I can't remember how to say his name. Abram. Why was he buying 28 cans instead of number 10 cans? And he's like, speak English. And so the cans really get brought into the mix.
So we're going to do an editing transition here. I think is that your last note for episode 1?
It is.
Okay, I think that's a good spot.
Perfect.
So just to kind of explain, mostly to shiftless folks, what we're doing. This is the end of the shiftless episode that talks about the bear. We're going to keep the conversation going, but that's going to become episode 1. I think this preview that we just did will be episode 0.
Yeah.
And the ongoing conversation for the bear, season 1.
Yeah.
That'll be episode 1 of
People Gotta Eat.
People Gotta Eat. We'll have more details on that. We don't have all the pieces put together, where to find it, and all that good stuff. But if you're interested in the bear, you want to hear more about it, come join us on People Gotta Eat. We'll have more details on that in the show notes, how to get there, and talk about it going forward. But if you have no interest in the bear or food or anything like that, you're a shiftless listener, guess what? We're gonna be full-time bikes going forward.
Yes.
Talk about some food and drink. That's part of
A little bit.
That's
Yeah.
part of life.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think we're going to shift back on shiftless to being more bike centric.
very bike centric, and People Gotta Eat is going to be very food centric. So we're going to go ahead and do a quick rollout of shiftless. Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll have another shiftless episode next week as well. You're not going to miss out on shiftless episodes. We're just doubling our workload, and we're happy to do it.